You're listening to the Dibbly Dobbly podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram.
Yeah, hi. I'm Derek Richards. I'm the president of the St. Helena Cricket Association. We're located in St. Helena Island. I've been with the Cricket Association now for the past 20 years. I worked my way up through the committee system, was vice president for quite a while, and at the last election was nominated president. So you'll be hearing from me today, and you're listening to the Dibbly Dobbly podcast.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Dibbly Dobbly podcast. And on the podcast, we have started a new series on the podcast looking at associate nations within cricket and how they are developing the game in their country. Many of us cricket fans know so much about the established cricketing countries and not enough on the associate nations who play cricket. So it would be nice to learn more about those associate countries, and via the podcast, people can learn also as well. For today's Associate Cricket Series episode, we are discussing all things St. Helena cricket. And joining me to discuss and talk all things St. Helena cricket is the president of the St. Helena Cricket Association, Derek Richards. Derek, welcome.
Oh, hi, thank you.
It's great to have you here, Derek. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on to the podcast today to talk about St. Helena, which is quite a unique country in the world where a lot of people may have not heard of the country before. It's off the coast of the African continent. It's a British settlement, as you will discuss in this episode, no doubt, Derek, about the history of the country and the island and cricket in there as well. But it's quite a unique place, and it has a cricket team, which I don't think many people would know about until listening to this episode today. With you and me, Derek, discussing all things St. Helena cricket. But that's the whole point of the Associate Cricket Series that we've been doing on the podcast for a year or so, is to hear your stories from many people around the associate world, including your story today, Derek, about what you're doing to make a difference in the cricket world and how these countries are making a difference in the game, which is fantastic. And it's probably one of the things about cricket is that it's a global game and everyone can play no matter where you're from, even on a small island in the middle of the ocean off the African continent in St. Helena, playing cricket and enjoying it. And the research I've done in readiness for this interview today, Derek, and watching how cricket goes over there in St. Helena, it's fantastic. Everyone plays with a good spirit. Everyone loves it. A big part of the community over there, given the population size and everyone being so close. So I'm really looking forward to our chat today, Derek. And once again, thank you for coming on.
No, it's going to be a pleasure, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it.
Yes, and no doubt our listeners and watchers of this episode today will enjoy it as well. So Derek, as I do with all my guests that I've been interviewed on the podcast, I like to take them back to when they first got into cricket. And it's been very fascinating listening to people's memories on how they started to get into cricket. So Derek, let's go back to the very beginning of your cricket journey. What were your earliest memories of watching, playing, and even going to the cricket?
Well, I mean, that's going back quite a few years now. But yeah, I'm what you would call a late starter. I followed the game as I was growing up, but never played in competition or tournament. So I was in my 20s when I actually started playing for the local teams. It's always been a very good sport in St. Helena, with quite a few teams taking part in like annual tournaments. So I've grown with that. Unfortunately, these things in my hand has prevented me from participating. That coupled with the fact that I work for myself now, and I just can't afford to be injured or out of work for any duration of time. So I've stopped the game, but I moved into some umpiring. And of course, then I joined the executive committee of the St. Helena Cricket Association. So it's evolved over the years. I love the game. I'm passionate about the game. And I'm doing everything in my power to progress the game in St. Helena.
Yeah, absolutely, Derek. And I think you've named the right reasons there for playing the game and enjoying the game, is that you want to make a difference. And certainly in a small island nation like St. Helena, you're making a big difference over there, which is fantastic. If you had to describe yourself as a player, Derek, how would you describe yourself as a cricketer?
I was a fairly good wicketkeeper, dreadful batsman, and couldn't throw the ball for a joke.
Yeah, no, well, I suppose everyone can relate to that in the game, Derek. It doesn't matter how good you are, at least you're having fun and making a difference for the team, I suppose. That's all that matters, having fun at the end of the day, rather than being the most talented or the most stylish player.
Yeah, I think a lot of that in St. Helena. I mean, there's no proper tuition for the players or the want-to-be players. In our team, as we were playing, we had quite a few youngsters coming through. One of those youngsters was my son, and I actually said to him, I said, "Listen, if you want to start winning trophies, you're not going to do it in this team. So why don't you take the rest of the youngsters and move and branch out on your own and start your own team?" And that's what he did, and they've progressed fairly well. They're one of the top teams on the island now, and most of them plays in our national team as well. So that was a good start for these young lads in St. Helena cricket.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing their own thing and going away from the older generation and forging a new generation of cricketer in St. Helena, which is fantastic. And the youngsters taking the stand and wanting the game to prosper, which is, I totally agree with that, Derek. That's fantastic to hear.
Even now, you have players who are over the age of 60 still playing competitive cricket with those youngsters, and yes, it does bode well for these people. But we definitely need youngsters coming through and doing their own thing and reaching a competitive standard.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll talk about that more in our chat as we get into our chat today about that as we progress through this chat today, Derek. Did you have any cricketing idols that you looked at, watching the game from around the world? Did you have any idols that you admired?
Well, let's start with this bit, because even though we're British in St. Helena, and through the ICC, we have been affiliated through the Africa side of it. But we didn't get television until around about 25 years ago. So a lot of it was restricted. Most of it was listening to the radio. When we first started watching television on St. Helena, a lot of our programming came from the African continent. So a lot of our cricketers, a lot of the people that I grew up watching, following, were South Africans. So we always remember the names of like the Gary Kirstens and the John T. Rhodes and those players. But yeah, I mean, everybody has their own. I mean, nowadays a lot of locals follow Australia in the cricket. A lot follow England, and of course some still follow South Africa.
Yeah, no, that's. I think a lot of people would say, "Oh, that's a bit of a different thing to other countries, I suppose, not having access to TV and you can't watch these players growing up. And then, it's only came in like 25 years ago, which is crazy when you think about it, and how the world's changed from those times, and everyone can access everything now. So, and listening to it on the radio, a lot of people make that connection as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like I'm sitting here talking to you through my phone. We didn't get cell phones until about 10 years ago. And we didn't get up to about a year ago. I wouldn't have been able to stream this video with you because our internet wasn't up to that standard. So things are improving, albeit at a slower rate than most people would wish for, but it's happening for us.
Yeah, I suppose it's just the thing with these types of countries and small islands. Things take time to progress than they do on the mainland, for example. So I suppose you just have to, do it at a snail's pace, but the benefits would be rewarding at the end of it, I suppose, which is what it's all about. So you mentioned your son, and cricket's a big part of your family. And you've mentioned about, them playing for the national team and have higher ambitions. Just tell us about your family in terms of, your family playing cricket, your children playing the game, and what are their goals and ambitions going forward?
Yes, so my grandparents were cricketers. They played cricket. I've just got the one son. He's playing cricket now. He captained the national team at the last tournament when we went to Nigeria, and that's about it in terms of the family. I've got a grandson and a granddaughter who are also interested in the game, but it's split here. I mean, because we cannot play cricket continuously, we've got one playing field. So we play cricket for 6 months of the year and football for the other 6 months. A lot of kids get split between the two games, and they also have their focus on football as well. But I'm glad to say that the young grandson, he loves his cricket, and he also likes watching it on the television. So that bodes well for him as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. Getting interested and curious in the game, I suppose, like we all were when we were growing up, wanting to play the game and wanting to enjoy it. So that's fantastic to hear that they're getting into the game and they want to learn more and play more as well, which is fantastic. So yeah, that's fantastic to hear, Derek. And thank you for sharing your cricket journey with us, and in terms of how you fell in love with the game and what makes you so passionate to ensure that cricket in St. Helena develops and flourishes through your current position as the president of the association over there, and making sure that the game is prospering and growing, and hopefully St. Helena can compete with other associate nations in the world and hopefully make it to a ICC event in the near future, which is everyone's goal in the associate world. So once again, thanks for sharing your journey with us in cricket, Derek, and I think many people can relate to your journey and introduction into the game.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's something that it just grows with you as you grow, basically. So it's something that we need to develop. We still need to develop the game in St. Helena. There's so many things missing from our game, from the game on the island. We don't have any qualified coaches living locally. So if we're going away to a tournament, we actually hire a coach to come in for a couple of months to train with the national team, and then he travels with us. So, I mean, and it's all based around funding. We just don't have the money to be able to bring people in or to have a full-time coach or coaches. Living on St. Helena, I'm not sure how much you've researched St. Helena before this interview, but everything's expensive. I mean, you just put yourself on an island. Everything that you use, so I'm building a house. Everything that you use in that house to build it is imported from Africa or the UK. Not very little is made locally. Of course, we make the bricks locally. We have sand locally, and the way the environment is going now, I'm sure in the not too distant future there's going to be a ban on using sand from the ocean here as well. But everything is expensive. So a flight to St. Helena and return from Johannesburg is around £1,000, give or take £100 or so. And that's what it is. So, for any of our players to go, or for us to go to a tournament, it costs £1,000 per player just to get off the island. That's without the onward travel and everything else that needs to go with it. So we like to progress the game. We like to develop the game even more, but it does have its limitations.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things. If you're a small island in the world, and things are very expensive, as you mentioned, and travel as well, and you have many challenges. But in the associate world, Derek, of interviewing the people I have in this series over the last year, associate countries are very resourceful, so they knuckle down and you try and make what they can of limited resources and challenges, and they manage to get it done. So I'm sure that's the case in St. Helena, as we will discuss in this interview as we go on, is that fighting spirit and being resilient and always finding a way when there's a will, there's a way, and you just have
Absolutely.
to try and work hard towards that. So no doubt you're doing that over there with cricket in St. Helena, no doubt. So Derek, I thought to start this interview on St. Helena cricket. Let's talk about the history of cricket in St. Helena. And you can learn a lot about cricket from its history. And the history of cricket in St. Helena is quite interesting, as well as the country as well. So Derek, give us a brief overview on the history of cricket in St. Helena, how it became to be and what it is today.
Okay, so our first records of cricket on St. Helena started back in the 1800s, 1840, 1850, around that time. That's the first records of any game of that sort being played. And then in 1900, 1901, the game developed, and they formed the St. Helena Cricket Association. At that time, a lot of the players, a lot of the personnel were military personnel who were on the island, mostly English military personnel. So they basically formed the game in St. Helena. And of course, there's some colorful stories about all of that. Where we play now on Francis Plain, which I think you've seen a picture of here, Jack. There's like I said, it's a plateau in a valley with the sea on one side, looking ahead, and the mountains in the background. And there are stories of people running off the edge of that plateau and plummeting to their death whilst chasing a cricket ball on an unlevel cricket field. So sort of stories like that, and it goes back a long way. More recently, I think our first association with the ICC is one of our governors back in the late 1990s started pushing for some form of affiliation to the ICC, and then in 1901, in 2001, we got affiliated to the ICC, so we became an affiliate member, and then later on in the late 2000s, 2018, I think 2017. We became associate members of the ICC, which is where we stand today. So we do get funding from the ICC, which does help us very much so in terms of keeping the game going in St. Helena and developing it. We have made lots of steps forward in the last, say, 5-6 years in terms of the way we do things. We've become more technically savvy in the way we do our stuff for cricket. There are some youngsters now coming through. Unfortunately, we don't have a women's cricket team or tournament, and that's due to a number of reasons. You train people, or you try to get people interested, and then they get wrapped up in boyfriends and not wanting to lose and not wanting to chip their fingernails. And I think, that's very difficult for us in getting women through the system. Youngsters, that's growing. It's pleasing to see that's growing. Previously we used to try and channel it through the schools. So some of the physical education teachers, they would do introductions to the game and some form of training. But a lot of players, or a lot of the youngsters, only developed their game when they started playing with the senior teams. But now we have New Horizons, which is a youth group, and they're actually bringing through a few more players than we would normally have. They run tournaments. St. Helena Cricket helps with these tournaments and just try to get more youngsters interested. But with a population of 4,000, the demographics shows that the majority of our population is 40 and over. So there's not many people coming through the system at that age, even down to the national team. The players that are playing probably, the players that want to play at that level. So it is rather difficult. We have a small pool of players to draw from. But like you said earlier, you must be resilient. You must make the best out of a bad situation sometimes. For the past 3 tournaments, we've been taking more or less the same team bar 3 or 4 different players in each year. So that's where we are in cricket today.
Well, yeah, absolutely, Derek. And thank you for sharing that with us, the brief history lesson on St. Helena and the country itself, and also cricket, how it connects between the two. And that's usually a common theme in the cricket world, I suppose. You have the British settle in a particular country and bring the game of cricket with them. So which is a common theme around the associate world, no different in St. Helena being a British territory. And the British having an influence there to this day. But how cricket got started and how it's becoming a thing in the community today is fantastic, Derek. So thank you for sharing that with us. A brief history lesson on cricket in St. Helena and the country itself. And I think more people would like to do some more research after listening to this episode today and wanting to find out more, which is the whole thing about doing this associate cricket series, is that you find out about these countries and you want to learn more about them and the history of the country, but also cricket as well. So no doubt people will be doing that after listening to our episode today, Derek, on St. Helena cricket. But once again, thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most of your viewers will probably know St. Helena because of one of our most famous residents. Napoleon was imprisoned here in the 1800s, and he's probably our most famous visitor that we had. It's almost impossible to get off this island, so we've had a few colorful prisoners here in St. Helena, very historically. So that's some of the things, if anybody wants to listen or to look and research St. Helena a bit. Napoleon was exiled here and he died here in the 1800s. And then the island is promoting tourism at the moment. Tourism is a growing trend in St. Helena. I said earlier about flights, the cost of flights to St. Helena. But remember, we've only had an airport now since 2016. So we've only had an airport for 8 years, going on 9 years now. So that's something quite new to us. And, before that, we had a ship that traveled between Cape Town and St. Helena. It took 5-6 days on the ship, and you traveled up here. So St. Helena Cricket went to their first international tournament in 2012, and it took them almost 3 months. It was like 6 days on the ship. You go to Cape Town, you wait around for a week or two for the tournament to start, and then you play the tournament, and then you have to wait around for the ship to get back and take you back to St. Helena, and it's another 6 days up to St. Helena. So all of that took time, and that sort of prohibited the team from progressing, playing in international tournaments. So it does have its limitations, Jack, but it's a wonderful place to live. And if anybody wants to come, especially any of our associate members who'd like to come and play the game in St. Helena, let's also put on the table that we only have one flight per week flying to St. Helena, except for our peak seasons. The peak season is from December to March. And of course, there's 2 flights a week then, on a Tuesday, on a Saturday. Outside of that, it's just on a Saturday. And once you're here stuck for a week, and you leave the next Saturday. So that's another of the limitations, Jack.
Yeah, probably, Derek, I suppose, have one associate country fly in, fly out, and the other one comes in the following day or something, a week. Keep the gear running all year round. But small countries and islands around the world have limitations, as we know, in society. No different in St. Helena, as you mentioned there, Derek. But just doing research for this interview and looking at the scenic views and the view behind you, which is fantastic. It's a splendid view. I'm sure people will be jealous watching this episode. And
that was the intention, Jack. When I set the camera up, it was the intention to make people jealous of the view and everything behind me. I'm going to tell you it's starting to rain. So.
Yeah, I did mention a few spots in front of your camera there. So let's hope there's not a downpour there, Derek. We'll try and motor through this interview.
It's just a couple of sprinkles.
We should be all good. You can play through that in cricket if it's not too bad.
Yeah.
So I suppose we'll keep marching on. But yeah, thanks for sharing that with us, Derek, the history of cricket in St. Helena and the country as well. It's very fascinating to hear you talk about that. And no doubt people will be wanting to research more and obviously looking to go there for a holiday or looking to have a bit of a look around and see what it's all about and embrace the culture as well.
Yeah,
So thanks for sharing
absolutely.
that with us, Derek,
Absolutely.
as well. So, Derek, let's talk about the St. Helena national cricket teams, the women's and men's. It'd be good to gain your insights on the two teams and learn more about their achievements, the player stories, because many of the players come from diverse backgrounds. You mentioned earlier that there's no women's team in place, but there are plans to hopefully achieve that in the near future. But the men's team have been playing for some time. So, Derek, for those who may not know a lot about the St. Helena women's and men's teams, can you tell us more about them, the players, and some of their stories?
So yeah, we have. I mean, on average, we have 8 teams competing every year in a senior men's tournament or tournaments. We have four tournaments. We play white ball cricket in all of them. The longest is a 35 over game. That's run on a league basis. We then have a 20 over league basis as well. We have a district tournament where players from individual districts take part, which is probably one of our better tournaments that we play. And then, of course, we have a T20 knockout tournament as well. So that normally lasts us around 6 months. And after that, we have a presentation, and the national team will go into their training sessions, and everybody else just sits around and wait on the next season. We do have indoor nets in one of the schools. We also have some outdoor nets, which just need some more work done to it before they become usable, which we'll be able to use in the off season as well. So that's been progressing for us. Apart from the national team, I mean, as I said earlier, you have players from 14 through now 12. I think there's a young player 12 years old through to 65, 66 playing cricket. So it's quite a range. And of course, we have to keep the elderly cricketers as well, because that's the makeup of the demographics on St. Helena. So having the older people taking part, but everybody loves the game. I mean, it's probably the mainstream sport on St. Helena. Yes, of course, there's football. I think we boast some more teams than the football does. Although, and the football team also goes away and plays international tournaments. But we, in terms of cricket, I'd like to think, I'd like to say that we have a good following in terms of fans and that. And of course, everybody goes. The cricket is only played on a Saturday and a Sunday. So we play on a Saturday afternoon and a Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon as well. And it's a great day out for everybody. We have a couple of good cricketers. One of our cricketers was selected by the ICC for high intensity training in Africa a couple of years ago. Shortly after our return from one tournament, they had a look at him and said he could benefit from that. So that's a big, a good step for him. And he's continuing to play. He forms a part of our national team as well. And of course, there's a sort of a spine to the national team, a sort of a backbone that we have about half a dozen really good cricketers that is with the team all the time, and then we try and build the rest of the team around that. So yeah, it is difficult in terms of getting numbers and getting people and making sure that they're getting trained. For us, it's a great challenge, but like you said, we overcome, and the players give up a lot of their time and effort. Like when we go away for a tournament, if you work for the government pays the employees. A lot of the players work for themselves or work in the private sector, so they don't get paid, but they love the game as well, and they take that on the chin. And most of the employers hold their jobs open for them for the 2-3 weeks that they're away, and when they come back, it's they have a job to return to. So it's it's making the best of the situation that we have. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Just adapting to what you have and the challenges as well, as we've mentioned in this episode. And I guess it's the same with all associate countries as well, Derek, not just St. Helena, but other countries that are, around the world and the associate world often struggling and just wanting to put a team out and play cricket. That's what they want to do, and they want to enjoy it. They don't get paid. They're not professionals. They just want to play cricket for the love of it and represent the country or the region that they want to represent. And no doubt, same with the players there at St. Helena as well for the national team. And the men have certainly done that for a few years now. In terms of, tournaments, that's the goal for any associate country, Derek, is to qualify for World Cups and T20 World Cups in the ICC sort of area. For the men's team, tell us about that progress, building towards qualifiers, regional qualifiers, and getting into those tournaments. Talk us through that progress of getting better each and every year in terms of doing better at those tournaments, even if you don't qualify for the World Cups, but getting better in those tournaments year on year.
Absolutely, that's our intention. I mean, we went from the sub-regional qualifier in 2018. 2020, we were unable to because Africa was red listed, so we weren't able to get to Africa because of COVID. And then 2022 and now 2024, we've also represented the island in Rwanda and Nigeria. And yes, we have gotten better. I say that knowing that the teams around us have gotten better also. And the teams around us play at that competitive level more regularly than we do. And whilst they're playing at that competitive level, they're also playing with the conditions that are conducive to the sub-regional qualifiers. And I say that because we play on a mat here in St. Helena. So it's a concrete pitch center with a mat on top of it. So that's how we play. When we go away and play in tournaments, we play on a turf wicket. So it's very, very difficult for our players to readjust. And we take the first few games trying to get ourselves used to those sort of conditions. In 2022, we went to Rwanda. We booked a week in Johannesburg prior to traveling to Rwanda to get some turf wicket training and get used to it. And it rained the entire week, so we didn't get a game at all. So that was a bit disappointing for us. This time we went straight in, and it was something that we recognized immediately that we need to. I'm not sure how we do that because that's going to be part of our steps going forward for St. Helena cricket. But we need to be able to get ourselves exposed to playing in those conditions more regularly, as opposed to turning up and playing 5 days on the trot and then coming back to St. Helena, because it does affect our game. It affects the players' confidence, and it also does not reflect well on the way that we've been training. So those are conditions that do hamper us. But we have built, we have grown, we've brought newer, better players into because. When we started traveling to international tournaments, the sub-regional qualifiers in Africa, a lot of the players from the cricket teams just saw it as a one-off, and now they can see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So we're getting a few more people that are interested and coming forward and wanting to play. So which is good for us. And again, like I said, we can only afford to get a coach to come here and teach us or coach us, building up to a tournament. This time we brought a coach in for a couple of months. Previously, we just done a month and then we go to the tournament. So it's all a learning process, but it's a growing process and one which I think St. Helena cricket will take further as we go forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about taking baby steps, I suppose, Derek. Getting better, seeing the progress and the improvement in the players, and seeing the batting improve, the bowling, the fielding, the wicket keeping, various roles in the game. Understanding how the game works. Tactical nous. Understanding your opponents and what are your strengths and weaknesses. Do you prefer facing pace or spin, or when's the right time to go in the innings if it's a T20, when to put the foot down and accelerate, what type of brand of cricket you want to play as well. How would you want to, show that to others in terms of, we're not here to make the numbers, we're here to play, we're here to we mean business. So you want to try and put that best foot forward and conduct yourself really, really well and just be good people at the end of the day. That's what it's about. As soon as you cross that boundary line, it's all about.
I think we've grown in that respect. I mean, the players are becoming more tactically aware, knowing their roles in the game and how to approach it. And it's like you said, it's just baby steps, but steps that I think St. Helena Cricket is proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. It's progress is small wins. Always cherish the small wins, because you'll see the improvements and the benefits down the long term. But we know in these associate qualifiers, Derek, in all the regions, not just Africa, they're pretty cutthroat and they're pretty full on. You can't afford to drop 1 or 2 games, otherwise that's it. But in the African qualifiers, I was speaking to Dennis Masali a few days ago about Uganda cricket, and they knocked out Zimbabwe to qualify for the T20 World Cup last year in the Caribbean, the USA. So it can be done. The nation that you don't expect to qualify, it can be done.
No, absolutely. I mean, you just look at cricket the world over. All they have to do is, like, let's say the USA against Pakistan. Who could have seen that coming? So it's just about how you're on that day and how you've built yourself for that particular game. So we are growing and we are progressing, Jack. And I think it's a good feeling within St. Helena Cricket that things are going that way.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And, hopefully one day we'll see St. Helena qualify for a T20 World Cup or a World Cup, Derek, in the years to come, probably. Maybe.
What a story would that be?
Yeah, it would be a turn up for the books. It would be. Yeah. And to win as well. Just like Uganda did last year when they defeated PNG by, I think it was 3 wickets or something like that. It was a low-scoring game. But Dennis was talking about how everyone in Uganda was getting up early in the morning to watch that T20 World Cup, but that game against PNG and what it meant for the nation as well. He said everyone was psyched, even him, Everyone was pumped for the tournament and pumped for that win because it did make a difference in Uganda. And that's what cricket's about, and for the players to be proud and, just do their best. And they deserve to win a game. They sure was a bit one-sided in some of the games against the full members like Afghanistan and New Zealand and that group and the West Indies. But they still kept turning up. They still said, yeah, okay, we got beaten today, but let's enjoy the moment. Yeah. Let's enjoy being here because we may not get back here again. We may not qualify again for another T20 World Cup.
Absolutely. No, what a dream.
Yeah, so hopefully St. Helena can be there in the years to come, Derek. But talk us through the team culture. That's very important in a cricket team. What's the team culture like in the national team? So just talk us through that.
So all of the players have full-time jobs and they have families. So it's very, very difficult for them to put the time in to train for this. So basically, it's you have half a dozen of these guys who will train every day if they get the opportunity, and the rest of them will come and do their bit if they're told to do it. So that's a sort of a scenario that we're dealing with, and because of such limited numbers that we have, it's very, very difficult to manipulate that. It's very difficult to say, right, you must be here at this time, because everybody is looking for a reward at the end of it. For me, the reward is representing your country. The reward is representing St. Helena. For some people, they don't really see it that way, but that's what the ultimate aim should be, is to represent your country, and it's a privilege to represent St. Helena and to be able to play on behalf of the national team. All of our players are homegrown. So every player that's playing for St. Helena in the national team are born and bred on St. Helena. We've had a couple of exceptions where people have been born here, but because there's no great jobs on St. Helena, a lot of people have to go off island to work. So we've had to make exceptional cases to the tournament director to be able to include them. But everyone is who's played for us is a what we call Saint Helenian or a saint.
Yeah, hence the name St. Helena. Yeah. That's very true, Derek. And it's good to hear that there's good camaraderie and good passion in the team and enthusiasm there. So that's good to hear. And players want to get better and improve each on every year and every season and every tournament that the team participates in, which is fantastic. From your point of view as president of the association and the other members of the board and the association, your expectations going forward, long term. What are your expectations for the team going long term in terms of tournaments and improving rankings and all that stuff, which many people look at the metrics and the numbers from the associate world? Or do you see it in a different direction and say, well, we're not really worried about that. We just want to see improvement and progress each and every year. Forget about rankings and stats and whatever. Let's just see improvement on the cricket field. So your thoughts on that, Derek?
Well, it's about managing the expectations. Firstly, rankings. We gain a ranking and then we lose it because we cannot play the minimum 5 games in a year. So like we've played now in Nigeria, and you're sure we'll be ranked. But this year, 2025, we don't have any international tournaments or any games planned that we can play. So we're going to lose that ranking. So it's about developing the team. I think our last tournament in Nigeria, it actually set our expectations of where we are and where we want to be. A lot of that needs to be around the development of turf cricket. Again, building the turf wicket in St. Helena isn't the expensive part of it all. It's the maintenance of it. We need to have people trained to be able to do it. We need to be able to pay people to do it. St. Helena is such as that, somebody will see, you can train somebody and they'll see something on the horizon and they say, well, yeah, that offered me £10 more and I'm going to take that job, and they'll go and do that. So those are some of our constraints, but our aim, our expectation is to play more competitive cricket at that level that's required going into these T20 sub-regional qualifiers, to be able to get us on a good footing and to be able to allow us to compete on a more level playing field as the other competitors, Jack.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more there, Derek. So it's all about just getting better each and every year and, seeing the progress and developing the team, as you said, and the rest will take care of itself. But you just need that experience, which is often lacking in the associate world. It can be difficult to try and organize bilateral cricket with other countries, and St. Helena being so remote from, other countries in the associate world, especially off the African continent, it's very hard to travel, as we've mentioned earlier. So it's all about just making do what you have, and hopefully, achieving big things in the years to come. Hopefully that's the case. But thank you for sharing that with us, Derek, about how the team's developing and the insights of the players and their stories and backgrounds. It's wonderful to hear that from many of the people I've interviewed in the series thus far. Just everyday people having a crack, having a go, wanting to play cricket and wanting to do well. So that's the main thing. That's why you
and it's about playing. It's about playing more cricket. So even if you went to a tournament and you didn't win a game, the experience and the exposure that you gained for that can only bode well for future games that you're going to play. So it's always difficult. It's difficult to take it on the chin, especially if you've been on a hiding to nothing. But out of that game, you must take the positives. So there's going to be a +1 in there for the team, for every player. Every player needs to look at it and say, well, I did okay here. I gained this, I took that wicket, I threw a maiden over, I took a stumping, or anything. There's going to be a +1 for everybody in there. So you never lose, even though you lose.
No, there's plenty of positives from many of the negatives you may encounter, but there's plenty of positives, as you rightly said there, Derek. There's always something to take out a game of cricket. No matter how well you did or how badly you performed, there's always something to take out a game of cricket and look to be better and improve on. So no doubt the team's certainly doing that, which is fantastic. So I think everyone listening and watching, Derek, will join in with me and wish St. Helena all the best, the national team, and hopefully we see them qualify for a 50-over World Cup or a T20 World Cup in the near future. Hopefully that's the case. Thumbs up. Beware St. Helena, everyone. Small island off the continent of Africa doing big things in the cricket world. And, no matter how small you are, you can achieve big things. We've seen that in world sport, that countries or teams that you expect don't perform as well as you would expect or qualify or win a tournament. They often do. Yeah. So don't write anyone off and don't underestimate anyone. And that's the main thing. So hopefully that's the case with St. Helena going forward, Derek. But no doubt, I think everyone will be watching closely at the progress of the national team. And hopefully there's a women's team as well in the near future. Hopefully, you can get that side of the game going, the female game, and getting a women's team in there as well, and seeing that flourish in the years to come as well, hopefully. But thank you for sharing that with us, Derek, about the national team of St. Helena and the good work that you're doing and the team's doing in terms of getting better as cricketers, but as role models for up-and-coming youngsters on the island as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're more than welcome. It was great having the chat, Jack. It's a beautiful game, and we're in a beautiful place. Prior to the interview here now, we were chatting earlier, and we played cricket all through COVID. I think we were dubbed as the only place that was playing the game by the ICC. So it's everybody loves the game on the island, and everybody supports the game. So it's a pleasure to be involved with the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're making a difference over there, Derek, and the people there as well involved in cricket in St. Helena. And that's the case in the associate world as well. Just everyday people making a difference in the game, which is fantastic, and understanding their stories and how they're contributing to this great game. So thank you for that, Derek, sharing that with us about the national team of St. Helena. Derek, let's talk about the growth and development of cricket within St. Helena in terms of getting cricket into local communities, clubs, schools, grassroots, etc. And Derek, this is one of the challenges that many associate nations have, is how they introduce cricket and promote it. That's easier said than done. And especially when you're a small island like St. Helena, it's even more difficult in terms of doing that, how you introduce it into the community, grassroots cricket, establishing local cricket clubs in local areas and communities, competitions, pathway systems, underage comps, having facilities, as we've just touched on, like nets and grounds and turf pitches, which is, difficult for people to have access to in their local areas or, in the country. Making cricket accessible to everyone via TV or streams, getting the exposure out there, and getting cricket into schools and their programs. They're important to do that, to get youngsters involved in the sport at a young age and in school. So, Derek, what challenges does the St. Helena Cricket Association have in trying to grow and develop cricket in the St. Helena community? And do you see cricket becoming a mainstream sport in St. Helena? So your thoughts on that very long question there for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not without its challenges. And previously, we have struggled in introducing the game to the youngsters coming through. Of course, like I said earlier in this chat, that the schools, they added as a part of their physical education curriculum. So youngsters are introduced to the game early on in schools, and that progresses. We're fortunate now, though, that we have the youth center, the New Horizons, youth center, youth group. They're actually promoting it. Our vice president, Scott Crowe, he runs the New Horizons, and cricket is forming a big part of his portfolio. So last year, for the first time, he ran sort of cricket tournaments by New Horizons, and then that fit as well into the adult, the senior league, in terms of presentation of trophies and rewarding the kids for their performances. And yes, it is growing. It is difficult because as you can imagine, on an island, there's not many people, but it's a small island, so there's not many people, but there's quite a lot of outlying areas. So getting the kids from those areas into the mainstream, into the areas where the game is being played, is a challenge in itself. And I think Scott does really well with that. And they fund all of the transportation and everything, getting those kids in. So coming out of it, last year we had four teams taking part in a youth tournament, which is exceptional for what we've been doing previously. And congratulations or thanks to these guys for making this happen. Just before the holidays, just before Christmas, we had a fundraiser day, a cricket fundraiser day, and again, the youngsters who have been brought through that system actually took part in a game on that day. So we have quite a few cricketers involved in this, and they are bringing the kids online and introducing the game to them and developing their skills. I mean, there's a lot of more work to be done, but the oldest of them, like 15, 16-year-olds, are actually playing in the senior tournaments as well, where they're learning. So the numbers are looking a lot better nowadays than they did, let's say, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, no, that's really encouraging to hear, Derek, that the game is growing and developing in some way, and you have many programs in place to ensure that is the case. So that's fantastic news to hear. Yeah, I suppose it's the same across the associate world, is that you have challenges and you have setbacks, and you've got to try and work out solutions to try and grow and develop the sport in a country where cricket's not the main attraction, so to speak. You've got other sports competing for cricket as well, so that makes it a bit difficult. But in terms of collaboration with other associate countries, obviously meetings, which often associate countries do, they have conferences and meetings with, together at an ICC level. Has that been pretty constructive and positive to come out of those meetings and get some new ideas and, some tips and advice from others, Derek?
Well, no, absolutely. I mean, the ideas and the tips and that, everything is there. The ICC does well to put all of that into the open for us. Actually delivering it on St. Helena, the only way to do it is through the schools. So we're somewhat restricted in terms of what's delivered through the schools. Although one of our national team is a PE teacher in the high school here, so he has a lot of input into what's delivered at that level. So yes, we do have, and we do share those tips or take those tips on board, especially from other member countries, associate member countries that are doing the same thing or facing the same difficulties that we face as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's all about helping each other out and just supporting one another, putting your personal gains and aspirations aside to help out the cricket world, which is what all administrators should do at the end of the day, I suppose. But many people have their opinions about the ICC at the moment in terms of how the game has been run over the years at an international level. But I ask this question all the time to all the guests I've interviewed in the series, Derek, in this associate cricket series, is their relationship with the regional bodies of the ICC. And many people said they've had a positive, constructive relationship with those regional bodies in terms of, helping associate countries out. So talk us through that relationship you've had with ICC Africa in terms of that relationship at a regional level, in terms of that support that they're providing through the ICC.
So I would like to go on record or say that we do have a good relationship with them, and they do understand the problems that we have. Why, I'm not going to say problems, the constraints that we have in Saint Helena, and they always have an open ear into those things. There are often things that come up for that we can use. Like let's give you an example, like umpire training or umpire tutor training, or coaching. And now we have to send our candidate away to make use of it, which is sort of not, well, that's a constraint of ours. We don't have the funding to be able to do that. I'm still interested in getting them here on a visit, ICC Africa. So if Justin and Martin are listening at this point in time, then I think a visit to Saint Helena. I think, Jack, we can sit and talk about this all the time, you and I, or any other associate member. But unless you come and experience firsthand, what Saint Helena is like, the constraints that we have, then you get a clearer picture, a better picture of how we're coping. I always think we're punching above our weight in terms of the number of things that we do. Bearing in mind we have a pool of 400 people to choose from. We are growing the game in Saint Helena. At this point is sort of a no, because I think we've saturated the number of senior players that we can have locally, and I think there may be like 2 or 3 people who can play cricket that's not playing anymore, and that's about it. Saint Helena is a place where people go offshore to make money. So you can have, there's a brilliant player. He's just left us last weekend. He's a part of our national team. But to further yourself, to further your career, to make some money, and people go away for a number of things. They go away to make money to build a house. They go away to further their career, because you cannot do it on Saint Helena. So we just lost one of our most promising national team members to offshore employment. And those are the things that sort of really, really hurts as a cricket association. And it hurts them as well, because they don't really want to go away, but it's a necessity that they do go away and do other things. I mean, we're fortunate that a number of them haven't decided to do that, and decided to stick around in Saint Helena to play the game, and of course work locally as well. But those are our constraints. But sorry for digressing. But going back to your question, yeah, we have a good relationship with ICC Africa, and they are considerate to the constraints that we have, and we work very closely with them, Jack.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear, Derek. It's, the ICC gets a bit of a beating in terms of how they're running the game at the moment, in terms of probably at a higher level than probably a regional level in the associate world, more so. But yeah, you make a very good point there about experiencing it firsthand and wanting to get those people out there and wanting to experience how cricket operates on the ground, and you often get a different perspective of that. So I think that's a very good point you raised there, Derek. And certainly, some people within the regional bodies of the ICC probably should do some visits, every now and again, just to see how progress is going. So hopefully that's the case in St. Helena, that someone from the ICC Africa's regional body will come out and do that. But from your perspective, Derek, in terms of ICC at a much higher level, do you think we're doing enough as it is to help and develop associate countries from your perspective?
From my perspective, listen, I could be critical and say no, but I do understand St. Helena's situation where we are, the criteria that we have to meet. And sometimes you look at it and say, well, here's a country getting $60,000 a year and I'm getting $15,000 a year. How is that growing the game in St. Helena? And you could say that, but, I think that would be not unfair, but in sort of not the right words to use, let's say, because we do get a lot of support from ICC at a more higher level. And even during times like, let's say submitting budgets as an example, we do get support from them in it needs to be done this way. Why don't you do it that way? Can we do it this way? And that's that sort of thing. And we don't have any hiccup. Everything flows nicely. Everything goes. If we've forgotten the deadline, somebody will just pop you a WhatsApp or someone and says you need to be doing this. Should the ICC give us another $50,000 to improve the structure of cricket in St. Helena? Yes, but is that possible? I doubt it. So there are things that can be sort of a pie in the sky, a wish or a dream, and there are things that are realistic.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough, I suppose, Derek, and thanks for sharing that for us, your perspective on that, because I suppose every country goes through different challenges, as we've already talked about, but also requirements have to be in place, I suppose, by the ICC for all associate countries to maintain that status and to ensure that the game is growing and developing. So I suppose you have to follow the rules sometimes, but I think many people would say in the associate world that, in special circumstances, they could be twisted and adjusted a little bit. I know I spoke to Icelandic cricket last year, and I spoke to their chairman, Bala Kamalakaran, and obviously Iceland's not an associate member yet, but they're hoping to be in the next few years, Derek. And he talked about the requirements and the things that you have to tick off, and even he said in that chat, some of those for Iceland at the moment are a bit unrealistic in terms of all these things you have to tick off to achieve associate status from where they are. So I suppose in special circumstances, you could, adjust them slightly, the requirements, and try and help these countries, I suppose. And he also talked about support. If you want us to be an associate country, help us and, support us by achieving that. He was trying to say that as well when I chatted to him last year, which is a good point, I suppose, as well. So it's all about common sense and just realizing that these countries have certain challenges, like St. Helena, for example, being a small island, many constraints, many challenges, but hopefully the ICC can help more in their current capacity. And I think everyone just wants them to be a governing body that helps and grows the sport and develops it, because that's what makes cricket so unique. If you have that global connection with the world, and as they say, that cricket's the second most popular sport in the world from what people have said in terms of statistics. So, it's all about just supporting those people and supporting people like yourself, good people who don't get paid, who don't do it on a professional basis, who have other jobs, and the players as well. They just want to, be an international cricket team and play cricket and qualify for tournaments and achieve great things. They don't think about the game for money reasons or anything. It's just about pride in representing your country. So I think as a sport in general, we should make it a bit easier for countries who are disadvantaged, like St. Helena, and have special circumstances. We should try and make the process a bit easier for them to try and be an associate member. Because if you're not an associate member, let's just say this for argument's sake, Derek, if St. Helena wasn't an associate country and you were trying to be, associate member at this current time, you would say it's not worth it because we have so many things that we can't do realistically. What's the point? We might as well just do our own thing.
Yeah. So like even now, without the ICC support in funding, cricket wouldn't be where it is in St. Helena if we didn't get that funding. So that's just a classic example. We have a poor economy on St. Helena. We have 8 teams that play a tournament. and that's going to be it. We wouldn't be able to do anything else. I mean, we've taken great strides in the past few years to get where we are. But if we didn't have additional funding for that, we would never be able to do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that's very true there, Derek. But hopefully that's the case with the ICC, and hopefully they can, try and help associate countries out a bit more. You can always do things better. You can always improve, but they're doing their best at the regional level, but probably higher up in the chain of command, it probably gets a bit lost in a bit murky waters there. So hopefully that can get cleaned out and filtered out, and hopefully the message gets across that it's not about the 4 member countries. It's about the other 96 members that make up the ICC, the associate members, because there's quite a few countries who are getting into the sport. So in terms of goals and ambitions, Derek, in terms of growth and development as an association, what are the objectives and goals that you have in place that you want to see ticked off in the future when it comes to growth and development, participation, kids getting involved in cricket, women's cricket, men's cricket? So just talk us through that, goal setting and what you want ticked off in the years to come.
So am I being realistic here, or I can just put my dreams in there as well, Jack?
You can put your dreams in there as well, Derek. Whatever comes to mind, whatever you think.
So the first thing for St. Helena cricket is the development of the youth. We need to get more youngsters playing the game. Otherwise, 5 years down the line, we are going to be sat with an old cricket team, and it probably wouldn't be as many players playing 5 years from now if we didn't have youngsters coming through. So that's going to be the first step for us, growing that game. And I think Scott in New Horizons has that well under control. He has his ideas on how this is going to move forward. Again, money, funding, that sort of thing. But that's where we are with that. At the moment, women's cricket, there's been no interest at all in women's cricket. You'll find 1 or 2 solitary ladies asking about it, and then can't get 11 people together. So I don't think that's actually feasible for us right at this point in time. Playing more cricket. Yes, we need to play more cricket. Like I said, we have one playing field, and it's used by football and the cricket. And maybe here's one for you. And this is just one of my dreams. Maybe ICC will say, yeah, we're like a little flagship project in St. Helena, building a cricket stadium on a piece of land, and we'll do that out of our budget surplus. So playing more cricket. If we had another cricket ground, we could play another 6 months of cricket every year, and that's gonna improve us greatly. Playing more cricket at a competitive level, playing more cricket at the level where we can compete with other countries, other people we will play against in an international tournament. I'll just give you an example. We went to Nigeria. We played 5 days and then returned back to St. Helena. We started cold. We hadn't played on a turf wicket. We came back to St. Helena and played on a concrete pitch again. And as an example, Botswana came from a tournament, went to Nigeria, played in that tournament, and then went on and played in Rwanda again in another tournament. That's the sort of level that these associate members are playing. So unless we can get to that level, are we going to seriously compete? So playing more cricket at that competitive level. And of course, growing the fan base. I mean, we have got a good fan base. We've moved ourselves now to a website and social media platforms, which we get feedback, contribution from, and all sorts of activity. So those are the things that's growing it for us in St. Helena. And having said that, I'd point out here that I think I said earlier, we have a very poor economy, and there are no big multi-million-pound companies here that's going to sponsor us. So everything we do, we have to fundraise. We raise money ourselves, and I mean we do okay with that. Last year, I think we raised around 10,000, 12,000 pounds fundraising, doing raffles and all sorts of things like that. So yeah, in a nutshell, it's the youth cricket, another cricketing ground, and of course playing more cricket at a competitive level, Jack.
Yeah, no, they're pretty good points you raised there, Derek, and hopefully that's the case going in the future for the growth and development of the sport there in St. Helena. Imagine that, St. Helena hosting an ICC tournament at the stadium that's been built.
That's what I wanted to hear you say. You know that.
yeah, it would be pretty cool with the backdrop and the mountain there, and it's fantastic scenes that you get in the cricket world, and St. Helena is certainly one of them. For those who haven't seen the ground yet, go search it up because it's quite spectacular in terms of the views and quite a nice place to play cricket, as Derek's already told us in this chat thus far. But it's good to hear, Derek, that the game is growing and developing in some way. There's still a long way to go. There's still a big mountain to climb, so to speak. Mount Everest. It's getting towards the summit and then getting over the top and hopefully achieving great things. But it's good to hear that it's on track and people are interested in the sport. Going to take a bit of time, obviously, but hopefully the growth and development will continue to increase over time, and hopefully cricket remains strong in St. Helena, and hopefully can provide the players that's needed to put up an international team or teams going into the future. So good to hear that the good work has already begun and it's continuing to make good progress, Derek. So thank you for sharing that with us in the chat today.
Yeah, no, thanks. I mean, it's interesting, and some of the things that I've said here are possibly dreams. Unless we have some form of external funding, we're never going to have another cricket ground. But we have to aim somewhere, and aiming at that point, I think, is a starting point.
Yeah, definitely. You always got to have dreams and aspirations. Otherwise, what's the point of doing it if you don't have anything to motivate or work towards? I suppose that's the main thing for all associate countries to aspire to. But once again, thank you, Derek, for sharing about the growth and development of the game of cricket in St. Helena. Good stuff being done there, which is fantastic. Now, Derek, we finally reached the last topic of our discussion. I've enjoyed it immensely. I've learned so much about cricket in St. Helena, and I'm sure everyone listening and watching has as well. So we're about to finish off our discussion here, Derek. It's been a long session, I suppose, in a test match. We're just getting over to the extra half an hour because the over rates are poor these days in the game. So the last over of the day and last 6 balls of the day to negotiate before we finish off, Derek. And let's talk about what the future holds for cricket in St. Helena. It's very hard to predict the future, as we know. But Derek, how do you see St. Helena cricket and associate cricket going into the future? So your prediction into the crystal ball to end our discussion today.
Well, I'd like to see St. Helena cricket progress to a higher level than we are now, and I think we're headed in the right direction. We've got a good group of people on our executive committee to take the sport forward and to develop the number of areas that needs to be developed. And there will be constraints, there will be challenges. And there will be things that we cannot achieve, but going forward, I'd like to see us growing the game for the youngsters, and of course at the national team level is playing more cricket and giving them the opportunity to be able to play at that level that we need to. I know Botswana is interested in coming to St. Helena and playing cricket with us. It's something that we go to these conferences and you have relationships, and you start a topic, and that's what I did with Botswana, or Botswana did with me, in fact. And we've started the topic, and it may not happen in this year, but it's there. It's somewhere where we're headed, and that's where we want to go. The whole associate member. Where do I want to see associate member cricket going? That's a bit of a dream, really, for St. Helena, because unless we can compete at a higher level, it's are we going to get to the World Cup? I'd like to say St. Helena is going to go to the T20 World Cup, but I can't see that happening anytime in the next 5 years or 10 years. But that's where we want to be headed as well. It's been a long challenge for St. Helena cricket, and I mean, with no disrespect in people who's gone before, we are making progress, and we are taking things forward as a committee and as a cricket association. So if you say, where do you see St. Helena 10 years from now? I'd say playing in the T20 World Cup.
Let's hope that's the case, Derek. And let's hope they can cause an upset or two, as we've seen from associate countries in the past, like Ireland and other nations, doing those things in the associate world. But it can be done. You've got to have something to work towards, and a goal and an ambition. But let's hope the future is bright, and hopefully cricket in St. Helena can flourish and develop, and hopefully they can achieve great things, and hopefully you as an association as well, Derek, at the helm there as president, can achieve good things as well. And hopefully that's the case. So hopefully the future is bright, but we shall see in the next few years, or even 10 or 20 years, and see how the progress is. We can only tell in due course. But thank you, Derek, for sharing your predictions into the crystal ball, and seeing and reading the tea leaves, as they say, into the future, and hopefully hopefully good things for St. Helena to come in the future. So thanks for sharing that with us, Derek.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
Derek, thank you for joining me today for this Associate Cricket Series episode to discuss all things St. Helena cricket. I've enjoyed it immensely, and it's been a wonderful chat with you, Derek, to talk all things St. Helena cricket, to learn about it, and to see how cricket's going there. And it's fantastic to see the good work you're doing and the others there. It's fantastic to hear that the game is doing quite well there. And I'm sure everyone listening and watching as well would learn more about St. Helena, want to learn more, and want to, probably go there for a holiday or something like that in the near future, because it is such a splendid island to visit, with the views, as we can see from your backdrop there, Derek. It's not a green screen, everyone. It's the real deal. It's the real deal. Derek has, kindly conducted this interview outside for us to have that splendid view behind him, which is magnificent. So Derek, if people want to get in touch with you, where can they do that? If they want to inquire about St. Helena cricket or other things, if they want to help out, where can they do that?
Well, they can just drop me an email or a WhatsApp. We do have a website, sthelena.cricket.org. We also are present on Facebook, and you find us there. And you can just search for me, Derek Richards. I'm on Facebook. My WhatsApp is probably easier, because it's easier to jot down now as I'm talking. So it's +290 51850. And look at that. That's it. That's because we only have 4,000 people, Jack. But yes, drop me a line. I'm in the tourism and hospitality. So even if you want to come for a holiday, then please do drop me a line. I'm sure we can help you. If you want to play cricket, then yeah, we can definitely help you with that. And if you just want to come and see St. Helena, then of course, please do feel free to do so.
Yeah, why not? Go and play a bit of cricket, and then have a holiday on the side as well. Why not? And experience the culture and what St. Helena has to offer, Derek. Absolutely. We'll leave links to those in the description of this episode for people to get in contact with Derek for those various reasons. If you just want to go for a holiday or play cricket on the side, Derek will be more than happy to accommodate you and do that if you request that. So we'll leave links in the episode for that for people to access to make some inquiries about St. Helena cricket, or to get in touch with Derek to book a holiday and see the sights, which is what it's all about. Before we go, remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. So the podcast is available on Anchor, Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. Once again, thank you, Derek, for joining me today to discuss all things St. Helena cricket. I hope all of you watching or listening to this Associate Cricket Series episode learned a lot about cricket in St. Helena from Derek. Until next time, keep safe and bye for now.